And good Friday morning. It is 11 a.m. here on Friday, December 18th. My name is Ryan Belmore. I'm the owner and publisher of What's Up Newp. Frank Prosnitz joins me. He is our superstar here on What's Up Newp.
Yeah, it's a great team we've got. Absolutely a great team.
It is.
The end of the year here, Ryan.
It took you forever to get here?
What's that?
Is that what you said? It took you forever to get here?
No. I said I said I don't know what I said. I think I said it was a great team, but it's all right.
I thought you were making a joke of how long you had to commute, but
we have been big commute.
We've been doing this author series, and we have had about 6 authors on now from all around Rhode Island, all the way up in the north part of the state to Newporters here in town. And this was your brainchild, and we've been having a lot of fun with it.
It's a lot of fun. We've got a lot more authors to go. We'll after the first of the year, Corey Dean is going to join us. She's the former science editor at the New York Times, former Providence Journal reporter, and also a Rhode Island resident. And Corey's written several science books that are actually geared to the non-scientists. So it'll be fun to have her on. We've got Bruce De Silva on, in the on deck circle. Bruce is the author of 4 or 5 fiction. I don't call them thrillers. They're novels about about this investigative reporter in a newspaper, and kind of fun stuff. So we've got those on tap. We've got a lot more coming on, so we're going to keep this going as long as we can find people who can write. Excellent,
and there's plenty of them. We've been talking to people that write books, and today we're going to talk to somebody who sells books. And there is a new bookstore coming to town here in Newport. It's funny because I say is coming to town, but it's already open online 24/7. But brick and mortar is coming to town to 8 Broadway in the coming year in early 2021. And let's just bring them on. Good afternoon. Good morning, Steve. How are you?
Good morning. Good, guys. How are you doing?
We're doing well. And go ahead, Ryan.
Steve, so Charter Books is opening at 8 Broadway. Brick and mortar is opening early next year, but you're open now online. Give us the backgrounds of Charter Books.
Sure. Well, I grew up here in Newport County. I grew up in Tiverton. After college, went to the Mississippi Delta to teach high school English for a few years. While I was there, I got the opportunity to work at a great independent bookstore called Turnrow Books in Greenwood, Mississippi. And worked there for a couple of years, then became the manager. And it's a different kind of place than Newport, but we found a way to really have a strong brand, great customers. We had tons of great authors come through. Mississippi might be the best state in the union for great authors per capita. So we had a lot of great events there. And every time I came home to Tiverton, to Newport, we have a lot of great little bookshops here. We've had some great used bookstores, but there wasn't anything quite like what we had in Mississippi. And I just scratched my head every time I came home that this hadn't really been done here, because I thought it could be a great success. So when we decided to move back here in 2019, started putting the plans together to open my own store that was kind of on the Mississippi model for Newport, and it's taken a while, but everything has come together exactly as we wanted. We think the location could not be better here on Lower Broadway, and like you said, we've been open online, and I think a couple of years ago the plan was that we'd have this grand opening, and everything would kind of come out of the gate really strong. But of course, 2020 has thrown everybody's plans out the window. So we looked around and we saw that online sales were what were keeping other bookstores afloat. And I just made it a priority to get the website up and running as soon as possible, to get our name out there as soon as possible, to let people know that, the store is still under construction, but we're still shipping books every day. We're doing curbside pickup. We're doing local delivery for folks here in Newport. And it's been great. I mean, I've been overwhelmed by the response from folks here. I mean, it started, of course, as you can imagine, with a lot of friends and family, but the word spread, And we're going to cross about 100 orders before Christmas, and those are people that are going to be the base of our customers, hopefully for years to come when we do open.
Steve, what makes Charter Books unique?
So, like I said, the way I learned how to do this indie bookstore thing was in Mississippi, and what I learned there is the days of opening a bookshop and just opening the door and hoping that you could survive by just people coming and browsing and buying books. Since the dawn of the internet and e-commerce age, those days are over. A bookstore has to be really agile, flexible, up to date with how it does business. It can't just be the kind of sleepy little bookshop that Meg Ryan was able to keep afloat and You've Got Mail. It's a different world. So what makes Charter Books unique is we're going to be everything that people expect from a great indie bookstore when you walk in the door. But once we're able to, we're gonna try our best to do lots of author events, to do children's story time. We're going to reach out to the community and forge those relationships with schools, with institutions, with organizations. And our goal is not just to be a retail store that sells books. We want to be a community meeting space. And, I was really inspired by the history of Newport. This is a place that for almost 400 years has been the center of a lively exchange of ideas. And that's what a bookstore is all about. That's what a bookstore should be. And we hope that's the vision that will put us on the map for Newport and for New England.
So you're selling.
Steve, go ahead, Frank. I'm sorry.
I was going to say real quickly, you're selling hardcover, softcover books. Many people are reading over the internet. How do you get people, or why do you hope that people will turn to the actual physical product?
That's a great question, Frank. I get that question a lot because there was a time there around 2009, 2010 when you saw headlines all over that the physical book was gone. The Kindle was coming, the Nook was coming, e-readers were everywhere. And it seemed like bookstores were becoming obsolete really fast. And instead, what we saw in the years since then, in the last 10 years really, is that kind of e-commerce, e-book, audiobook revolution, it hollowed out the middle of the book industry. The big box stores, Borders went under. Barnes & Noble is struggling right now. But it actually bolstered kind of the small independent bookshops like what we're trying to do. Because it turns out that everybody who was going to read books on an e-reader, and there's nothing wrong with that, just everybody who was going to do it, they did it. But there's still such an attraction to the physical book. And I've seen it in the 5, 6 years that I've been working at a bookstore, is that, this is a technology that's 600 years old. And to call it obsolete or going out of style is premature because, like I've said, just in the last couple of weeks, it's tough to give somebody a link to an ebook for Christmas. Being able to unwrap an actual book, especially a signed book, is something special and something that someone can get great joy out of turning the pages rather than something convenient you can pull up on a screen, which we all look at all day anyway.
Steve, now people can visit charterbookstore.com to shop now to learn more about, but let's get the latest update on when we are going to be able to go in and purchase a book. Obviously, events is further down the line, but what is your rough estimate right now, your safe estimate? What's your elevator speech you're telling people your opening is going to be?
What I'm telling people right now is in this year, it's become foolish to put set dates on anything in the future. So we had kind of a couple of soft dates that we were looking at, and those quickly went away after we had some construction delays. Everything is still on track. Everything we want to do with the construction, everything we want to do with the store is exactly as we imagined it a year and a half ago. It's just taking longer. What I'm telling people is we're calling it late winter. I think it'll be late February, early March. We think the construction will be done in mid-January. I'm actually upstairs. I'm on the 3rd floor of our building right now in these condos that we have up here. So you may hear some hammering and sawing downstairs during our call. They're going to be done in mid-January. But knowing what we know about what Newport is like in the middle of the darkest days of winter in a normal year, plus the pandemic, we decided to just take a breath, get our inventory up, train our staff, just get everything really perfect so that come late winter, early spring, first couple weeks of March, when we do open, it'll be at full strength. And we're all praying that the world will be a little bit of a brighter place by then too.
Pretty tough in this in 2020 to have a vision. I had to get it in right. 2020 vision. To, to open an independent. It's just me, Ryan. To open up an independent business, and look to get that started when there's so much chaos around.
Right. I mean, frankly, between us, I'm just so thankful that we didn't open in February of 2020. I feel like really we kind of dodged a bullet. What it has given me time to do is, when the worst of the worst was happening, when we were in lockdowns and we may be looking at another worst coming. But fortunately, we didn't have a ton of inventory. We didn't have employees that had to be laid off. We didn't have massive invoices to pay. I mean, it was me working from a bedroom. And then after the pandemic hit, it was still me working from a bedroom. So I really feel like Newport and people who visit Newport are really excited for us all to bounce back. And the hope is, you're right. I mean, independent businesses, small businesses, there's so much risk. There's so much uncertainty. But I don't know about you guys, but I really see hopefully a wave coming once we can start to kind of return to a new normal. And we're hoping to ride that wave into the Newport summer that'll hopefully be something like it was before.
Tell me,
Steve, for people that I think we're on a litlittle bit of a delay, Frank.
Okay.
You're at 8 Broadway, which is formerly Hope, formerly a bunch of restaurants. But, you paid tribute to the history of the building on your website, as well as Charter Books kind of pays a little homage to the people of Newport.
Yeah, I'm glad you asked that. I love talking about this. Newport history is just so much fun to get into. This building was built in the early 20th century to be the William B. Scott Brothers hardware store. And all 3 floors and the basement were the hardware store. And it was run by William Scott and his sons until the mid 50s. So this building, when it was originally laid out and built, was meant to be a retail space. And there you see a picture of it right there, decked out for the 4th of July. But yeah, this was a hardware store. It was a local retail store. It was a Newport institution for over half a century. And what we decided to do when we were looking at these great old photos of it is, that storefront, that facade, that classic kind of retail facade, had been covered up after decades of it being various restaurants and nightclubs. And what we asked our architects to do is as much as possible with modern standards, return it to that kind of storefront where you have these big windows where you can see inside. You have the little vestibule there, the signage across the front. So what folks will see on Lower Broadway, and actually very soon, our windows went in a couple of days ago, in the next couple of weeks, is they're going to see something that hasn't been seen in that spot for 60, 70 years, but it's kind of the classic look of that building. And then you asked about the name, Charter. When we first moved back here, I knew I wanted to open a bookstore. I didn't know what the name would be. We moved back in the summer of 2019, and I went to the Redwood Library and I grabbed a bunch of Newport history books and started going through them. And I was really inspired by the story of the Rhode Island Royal Charter of 1663, which the historians have called it one of the grandest instruments of human liberty ever devised. And that's not an overstatement. It inspired Thomas Jefferson, took inspiration from it. And this was the document that John Clark, a Newporter, primarily authored to get signed by King Charles II, that made Rhode Island the first civic state, political state in North America that had self-government, freedom of religion, and even granted indigenous peoples the rights to their own land. This was a really amazing piece of civic leadership from Newport. And so we wanted, we were a bookstore. So we wanted to pay tribute to how powerful the written word can be, especially here in Newport, from these people 400 years ago who put their faith literally in the written word to enact change. And we're just a little bookstore, but we want to pay tribute to that part of Newport history.
Steve, what when you were in high school or elementary school, did you have an attraction to reading at that point? And a second part of that question is, how important is it for people to read on a regular basis, to pick up a book and read a book?
Well, I mean, of course, yeah. I was involved with reading from a very early age. Loved it. That's no surprise to anybody who knows me. And spent so much time at the old Essex Library in Tiverton. My mother's still a librarian at the Tiverton Library there now. And it's just always been a choice of mine to be surrounded by books. I mean, we have towers of books at our house that my wife is constantly asking me to move move aside or clean out. So we got to keep the turnover going. But no, of course it's important. We're increasingly becoming a society that we receive so much from these screens, and I think the last year has really accentuated that. I mean, look at us now. We're doing this interview over a screen. For me, at least, being able at the end of the day to quit working and look at a printed page with a lamp next to me, it's refreshing to the eyes. It's valuable to me to be able to escape if it's a great novel, or I'm somebody who just loves history, as you could probably guess, and just dive into a really great history book. That's valuable to me, and I've seen it from our customers both in Mississippi and here that's something that's still very valuable to folks.
Your favorite author?
Ooh, put me on the spot.
That's like asking favorite child.
Yeah, that's tough. Well, I get in arguments with people a lot because my favorite book is Moby Dick, and that sounds kind of a wild pick, but yeah, that's my favorite book. I love I love Melville. I love Whitman and those American transcendentalists. I went through an Irish writer phase in college, so I'm a Joyce guy too. But of the writers right now, I kind of a local guy, Nathaniel Philbrick is a great writer of New England history. I love his work. Jill Lepore is another great nonfiction writer. She teaches at Harvard and writes for the New Yorker. Yeah, it's tough to pick one. Kind of depends on what I'm reading right now or what I'm in the mood for.
Do you have a favorite type of book?
Yeah, it kind of goes up and down. I mean, in this business, I kind of have to read really far and wide. I don't get to read constantly for pleasure. I kind of have to do a broad survey of what's out there. Like I said, I really love a great kind of New England history book, American history. On the fiction side, I love a book where stuff happens, and that sounds like a silly answer, but I really like plot-driven books, as opposed to the kind of books where it's a lot of people sitting around talking and thinking. So yeah, I like a book that moves along real quickly. And actually, I've got a couple here that I'll tell you guys in about a few minutes that were some of my favorites from 2020.
And I was going to ask you that. You mentioned that we're surrounded by books, and I see some books in your background there, and wondering what you're recommending maybe for gift ideas or people should pick up.
Good idea.
Yeah. So obviously we're, we have a few books on hand. I want to make sure people know that, as we head into the last days of Christmas, we've got a very small inventory here at our under construction store. These are some books that we do have in stock right now. So if people see this and they want to order it, they can pick it up, or I can deliver it today if they want. But these are some of my favorites and some of those popular that we've had this year. This is Tana French. She's an Irish writer. Her usual book is kind of a gritty detective murder squad, dark kind of urban crime novel, and this is not that. This is set in the rural Irish countryside, and it's a story of an American from Chicago who goes and buys a little cottage out in the west of Ireland, hoping to quietly retire. But there's a disappearance in the town. Everybody knows a little bit more than they're letting on, and he gets roped into this small town crime and kind of dragged into the intrigue that's going on in there. It's a great mystery story. It's not a fast-paced thriller like her usual stuff, but I loved it, and it's been the #1 indie bookstore pick in New England since it came out in October. So this is a book that everybody's loving. Speaking of everybody loving, you can never go wrong with Eric Larson. He wrote The Devil in the White City. This is his newest. That actually came out early in the year, The Splendid and the Vile. And this is a guy who somehow found a way to tell a new story about Churchill in World War II. This is takes place over the 1 year between May of 1940 and May of 1941, as the Germans were trying to invade the UK. And what he does that's special in this is he tells a lot about Churchill, but really he dove into the archives and the journals of people who were observing it, and you get a lot of stories that you wouldn't normally hear about that kind of well-trod period of world history. So Eric Larson, anything he writes is going to be a hit, so can't go wrong there. You may have heard of this guy, good writer. He had a couple other books that were bestsellers.
He's got a future.
Yeah, he's a pretty good writer. His wife had a really big book a couple years ago, and his friend just got elected president. So we've got these books. This is obviously the #1 bestseller right now in the country, and it's the story of Barack Obama's first term in office, and it's volume 1 of 2. So if you're not tired of politics yet, we've got this. And a couple others. Of course, J.K. Rowling has a new book that's kind of for middle school readers. Ready Player One was a runaway hit when I was working in Mississippi that then became a film adaptation. This is the sequel by Ernest Cline called Ready Player Two. And then a couple others. This book has sort of become very popular and risen to the top of the bestseller list. This is really a story that looks at it's nonfiction, but it looks at kind of the history of protest and civil unrest that we're seeing flare up again in this country, and looks at it more from a class level in addition to race. So this has been a big seller this year. And I just wanted to highlight a couple more. For everybody who can't travel this year, this is an amazing book. They're a website that turned into this excellent book that is Atlas Obscura, and it goes all over the world and looks at the weirdest, strangest, creepiest, off the beaten path places in every country. The Rhode Island highlight in here is the grave of vampire Mercy Brown in Exeter. That's in here.
We all know her well.
Yeah, and their website has a lot more. Their website has a few Newport spots in it too. And then we've got a lot of kids' books here. Of course, Snowy Day, classic board book, The Crayons Christmas, and one of my son's favorites are Polar Express, of course, and How the Grinch Stole Christmas. So we don't have a ton. We don't have near the inventory that we will when we're open. But I've been careful to make sure that we have here at our store, anything that people might want to grab as a last-minute gift.
Steve, from a business standpoint, how many people do you think you'll eventually employ?
That's a great question. I think in the off-season months in the winter, we're probably looking at 7 or 8. And based on the research that I've done, talking to other retailers here in Newport, we may double that in the summertime, be up to about 20 people if things are really back up to speed here for a Newport summer.
Yeah, that's a sweet spot for Rhode Island. This is a state of 90-some-odd% small businesses and generates probably the easily the most employment we have in the state.
Steve, one of the things I find interesting is the number of events and number of authors that, when you're fully up and running, how often you plan to have authors come through and how often you plan on hosting special events.
Yeah. So, the future is kind of uncertain right now. We don't know what, I can't do author events physically in the store, if publishers and authors decide not to go on the road, it may be years before we see things back to where they were. What was amazing at our store in Mississippi is we were so far off the beaten path for the national publishers in New York City. We were 2 hours from any airport. We were in the middle of the Mississippi Delta. I had to kick and scream sometimes to get them to send authors to us, and they did. It was such a well-known store for the book industry, and authors wanted to come, and they made the trip, and we made it worthwhile for them. But it kind of feels like I was swinging with a batting donut because here in Newport, there's so much more potential because at least before the pandemic, every author went to Boston and New York, and so sometimes here in Rhode Island, we feel like we're off the beaten path or we're kind of nudged aside from those two cities, but really we're not. I mean, we're right in that corridor. It's a place that I feel strongly I can make the pitch, make the proposal to get big names here. And it doesn't have to be just big names. I want to expose Newporters to all kinds of great authors, up and coming debut authors, children's authors, and of course, as you guys have been doing, local authors here in Rhode Island. So yeah, the vision was kind of starting at like 50 to 75 events per year and working up to 100 because
wow,
that's a model that I knew. Not sure what that's going to look like, but I, we have the chops to do it when the authors are ready to come. And if it has to start with virtual events, we're happy to do that too.
Excellent. They do work. And something of note is what Steve has done at Charter Books is he's been keeping track, probably better than we have, of what authors we've had on. And if you visit his website, and we can include the link, you'll see each author we've had and the books that they have available. So great way to keep up with the authors that we've had.
And Steve, you're capable of getting any of those books for anybody who's looking for them?
Yeah, I don't want to make too many promises because in the couple weeks before Christmas, the inventory is wild. But what we do is we have relationships with the publishers, we have relationships with the wholesalers. So normally, if it's a book that's out there that's been published, we can get our hands on it. But I don't want to, that'll probably be easier to say with more certainty once things kind of restock in January rather than right now because, the numbers are just crazy right now for books going out of stock, and also shipping is really iffy right now too. So, yeah, I'm comfortable saying that if it's a book that's in print, we can get our hands on it.
I went to the post office this morning, and I'll warn everybody now, get there as soon as possible. If you're trying to get a package anytime to anybody anytime soon. Steve, we should do this, on a regular basis where we go over staff picks as well as books of the month, maybe top sellers, best sellers. I find this stuff fascinating, and I think a lot of people do.
I'd love to. That sounds great.
Yeah, it'll be a lot of fun looking at new books coming out, and I love the idea of the book of the month. That sounds great.
Excellent. And so right now people can go on charterbookstore.com, and for some books that you have in stock right there at 8 Broadway, you do have local delivery as well as front door pickup, I should call it, and things like that.
Steve, they've got to order online though, correct?
Yeah, well, yes. They can also call us. We have a phone line, 236-8678. That's all on the website too, and an email address. So I just want to, of course, put the caveat out there that we're a very, very tiny staff working out of a under construction bookstore in the middle of a pandemic. So I think folks have been very patient with us, and they understand those limitations we have. But
they're just full of excuses.
But no, it's been great. I've been out there just about every day for some curbside pickups, and we've done a lot of deliveries here in Newport. The window has kind of closed for shipping, and I think folks realize that I haven't had a shipping order in a couple of days, which is fine because it's probably not going to make it by Christmas at this point. But yeah, for folks here who are in town, any of these books, and they're welcome to call or contact me to see if they're in stock, and if they're not, we'll do our best to get it in time for Christmas if that's what they need.
And Steve, the bookstore is obviously on the first floor, and then you're in one of the condos, pretty good looking condos up there.
Yeah, so these are available to rent on Airbnb and Vrbo. The second floor and third floor condos here above the bookstore. You'd be surprised. We actually did pretty well with folks coming here to stay, even through the summer, even through quarantines and lockdowns. Folks really enjoyed them. And we're not there yet, but I do want to mention that starting in the new year, one thing we want to offer is for any folks that do decide to book these condos, we're gonna give them a coupon to be able to buy books downstairs as well. So it can kind of be a package deal. You stay upstairs, and you get to come down and do some shopping at the bookstore too.
Excellent. And Frank and I are we frequent one of your neighbors' restaurants quite often for lunch. When lunch was able to had, we would be at Poor Judgment almost every single Wednesday afternoon having lunch and talking about our news plans for the week ahead. So we love it on Lower Broadway.
Yeah, that's great place.
Yeah, it's the best neighborhood in town. I'm surrounded on all sides by my favorite restaurants, and we can't wait till everybody's up and running. They're excited to have us here. The support has been great, and I can't wait to be going back into Port Judgment 3 days a week or whatever.
There you go, Steve. Did we miss anything today?
No, I don't think so. That's that's it. We're on social media too. We're easy to find at Charter Books, charterbookstore.com. Folks can reach us, like I said, at 236-8678. You're welcome to come by. We have windows now, so folks can come see the storefront as it changes each day. And we just can't wait to open our doors and see the faces of all these people who've supported us for the last couple months.
It's been easy, and we've heard it for 9-10 months now of how tough 2020 has been. And it's a lot of fun and great pleasure to talk about a new business opening and people trying to take that step forward. I think, the recovery of Rhode Island is going to be long, but certainly people like you and people who are opening businesses during this time give us a little bit of hope.
Well, hope is the motto, right?
So the Harvey McKay, who you may be familiar with, is an author from the Midwest, Swim with the Sharks, and a business author. When I was editor of the Business News, I had him as a columnist. And my favorite column from him was something I think people should adopt. And what he says is your attitude is your altitude. So if you have the right attitude, you can accomplish anything.
I agree.
There you go, Mr. Prosnitz. Well, Steve, we wish you the very best of luck, and we'll be popping in your store as soon as it's open, late winter 2021. And of course, charterbookstore.com. You can do some shopping now. And I assume your inventory will continue to increase as you get closer to the big day.
Absolutely. We'll keep building it up, and we'll keep folks updated on our stock and what we're doing too. If they want to sign up for the newsletter, they'll get continuous updates on how close we are to opening. And just want to thank you guys for the work that you do. We're all daily readers of what's up Newp at our house. So keep up the great work on your end. And like I said, we're excited to be open here in Newport.
I appreciate that. And one of the reasons we're able to do what we can do is because of people like you who came forward and said, we're going to sponsor your author series. So we really appreciate it.
Absolutely.
All right, Steve, thank you very much. We will chat with you soon.
Okay, thanks for having me.
All right, Mr. Prosnitz, and we would go from authors to bookstores and beyond here.
Yeah, really exciting though. An independent bookstore opening up sounds like it'll be a lot of fun. One of the great things is just walk in those stores and just walk around and just get the feel for what it is. And they're a lot of fun. So it's great. Much different than walking into those big chain stores.
It sure is. And you can visit the website, and there's a lot of fun information on there about they have staff picks on there, and you can subscribe to the newsletter, and along with bestsellers, new and noteworthy, books on Newport, and much more. So charterbookstore.com, and we will continue our author series. Probably, did you say we have it in next week, or we're going to wait until after Christmas?
Yeah, nothing yet, and I doubt if we will next week, but we'll pick it up certainly after Christmas, a lot of authors to talk to, and but who knows? Maybe we'll get a surprise next week.
You never know. The daily schedule for us changes at a moment's notice. So
daily schedule changes 2 or 3 times a day. So.
Speaking of, for anybody who is wondering, the governor is coming up at 1 p.m. and we will carry that live on What's Up Newp. And Amanda, thank you for the notes, and forgot to bring this one up, but I see Steve in the background and Aaron says, hi, Steve. Hey, Steve. So charterbookstore.com. Frank, thanks, and we will chat with you again soon.
Very good.
Thanks for watching. We want to thank Steve again for joining us. charterbookstore.com.